Hola, buenos dias, bom dia, good morning. My name is Melinda Eni Ramirez, and I'm the Asset Director of Leadership Program. I'm also a proud Asset alumna, and I'm also a former Cafecito guest. I'm excited to present to you all today a special Cafecito about mental health awareness, tools, and resources. With that said, me siento muy excited to present to you all today our Cafecito guest. His name is Juan Carlos Avila. He is a former asset president. Hello, Juan Carlos. And he is also the CEO and founder of HappiLyfe app, which is a purposeful wellness living app that fosters connectivity, connectiveness, well-round living by providing customized tools, resources, and assessments. So with that said, Juan Carlos, good morning. How
Hola.
are
Hey,
you?
Melinda. How are you? Good to see you.
Good, good. I
Cafecito.
see you have your cafecito ready.
My
So
cafecito.
why don't you tell us what your cafecito or coffee of choice is and how do you make it?
Oh man, I'm probably an embarrassment to my Colombian heritage. I started out with the sweet stuff, the Frappuccino stuff, and then pushed that aside, and now it's just coffee, and I take it with some almond milk and some stevia. So
Mm.
trying to be a little healthy, but
I like the healthy coffee mix. I'm
yeah,
Team Agua right here.
there you go. There you go.
So, Juan Carlos, why don't you tell our viewers today a little bit about your cultural background and your professional background?
Sure, absolutely. So great to see everyone. Juan Carlos Avila, born here in the States. Both my parents are from Bogota, Colombia. Had an opportunity to live there for 2 years in Bogota when I was about 8 years old. And then got a chance to live all over the world. My dad was in the military. So with middle school, we lived in Germany for a couple of years, which was really cool. And then just been all over the States. But professionally, undergrad from Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin, MBA from Kellogg Northwestern. Been in the financial services industry, so I run a wealth management practice with Olga Camargo at Faro Advisory, a division of Toroso Investments. But then got into this mental wellness world over the last 3 years and a deep dive into it. So,
Thank you for sharing that. So,
yeah,
shout out to fellow Colombians and military families. I'm also representing military family as well. So,
great.
Juan Carlos, I know today we're going to be talking about mental health. Last month was Mental Health Awareness Month, and we were hit really, really hard, especially in our Black and Brown communities with tragic events in Uvalde, Texas, and Buffalo, in New York. So, I know it's been heavy on my heart, my soul, my mind, my body. And I know a lot of our viewers are watching this as well. Any tools or resources that you've been able to personally lean on? And then we can talk into a little bit about your app.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of tools and resources, that's one of the things that I was able to build was HappiLyfe, right? So HappiLyfe is an app that's available in the App Store now and the Google Play Store. And what it does is it facilitates a more purposeful living, more purposeful life by facilitating balance through daily focus and access to wellness tools, connectedness through positive and safe community, private community, and also positive change through daily reflection. So within there, like my favorite tools that I use are I reflect on my purpose every day, my mantra. I go through my gratitude list. I look at my daily inspiration. I've got a couple visualizations in there and a forgiveness and check off my exercise and I'm good to go. And I do that on a daily basis. And at the end of the day, I reflect. It's only 2 minutes, but I spend those 2 minutes to reflect and hold myself accountable. So that's been really, really helpful for me personally.
Thank you for sharing the personal part, especially because I know in our Latinx community, mental health stigma, especially for me growing up as Puerto Rican and Dominican, it was always there, but not there. It was not discussed, even though we knew that there was stuff going on. As a person that has struggled, a mental health journey, especially postpartum, now I'm an advocate of therapy and speaking out. So tell us a little bit why you kind of went into developing this app and
Yeah.
talk a little bit about, mental health community and some stigmas maybe.
Yeah. So in terms of building the app, it really was. I'm a Gen Xer. I want to make sure I didn't say Gen Z. I'm not Gen Z. I'm Gen X. But when I was looking at probably 5, 6 years ago, looking around me and seeing other Gen Xers who were reaching like a level of success in their careers, but they were struggling around balance or connectedness or feeling stuck. Maybe their careers were here, but their relationships or their health was down here. But then as I got into this mental wellness journey of building HappiLyfe, what I found out quickly was that it's really the number one demographic for mental wellness tools and resources are women 18 to 29 and then men 18 to 29. And when you think about it, at 18, that's when we're leaving home. And if we're lucky, our parents have done a good job, or us as parents, right? Because I'm a parent of 3 teenage Latina daughters. We've done a good job around preparing our kids for school, maybe athletics and physical health, maybe family, and maybe religion, right? But we don't do a good job preparing our children, or we weren't prepared properly around mental and emotional wellness, right? So these young people go out into the world and they're not prepared to handle the challenges and the struggles that they'll face. And that's where it becomes an issue at that 18 to 29 year range, right? So for me, looking at my daughters, because I'm an investment guy, right? And maybe I'm a creative, and maybe I'm an entrepreneur, but for me, this is like the greatest gift that I can give to my daughters. Like my biggest role in my life, yes, I have my clients and my business, but it's really being a father, right, to my girls, and making sure that I can help prepare them and then help others also be on this journey where they have access to these tools, and we eliminate some of the stigma, and we create programming, and where they have access to these tools and resources up here when they're up here, not when they're struggling down here, right? Because that's the way we treat mental health currently across the globe.
I appreciate you so much saying that, especially as a parent as well. Just thinking about like, what can I do to help prepare her for the world that we're going to live in? We talked a little bit about tragic events that recently happened in the United States. We know worldwide what's going on as well. And especially those formative years are so important to have mental health opportunities, to talk about them, build resiliency skills. So what are some tips and tools that you can state now, aside from HappiLyfe, that can help empower folks that maybe are struggling, one, and then two, maybe be advocates for other people?
Yeah, I would say is really take the time to focus on yourself, right? There's a saying that we have at HappiLyfe, which is the most selfless thing that you can do is work on yourself, right? So spending time doing reflecting or journaling at the end of the day, spending time reflecting on your purpose, going through your gratitude list, going through your visualization, taking time to meditate, to breathe. That's all going to pay dividends in terms of grounding you more as a person, and making you more present and calmer and more relaxed in terms of tackling the day. So there are a lot of tools out there, and I think what we've grown up at, and we've all live in a society where, as I mentioned before, those tools, whether it's therapy or medication, right, prescription medicine, or wellness tools, or nutrition and health, or whatever it might be, are really brought to us once we're kind of like on this challenged kind of slope, right? So we need to like flip the conversation, and really, where originally as a Gen Xer, I was thinking HappiLyfe for corporate wellness, which it fits in, and then universities, which, because they're struggling as kids are back, face to face and in person, but they're really, really struggling. And it's not really the university's fault, because the young adults are coming to them already not equipped with the tools and resources, right? So we need to start younger in high school and middle school and provide those tools and resources so that it's part of these kids' arsenal, right? Part of their tool belt, that they're able to say like, hey, I need some time. I need to do some breathing. I need to do some grounding, whatever it might be.
And I appreciate you saying that, especially like you said, start early, right? Well, some of us, since I'm in my mid-30s, I didn't get the chance to start early, because I know growing up, it was always like, estás loca, or like, what are you worried about? Back in my day, I had to walk miles of school. I had this, like, you want to know what real stress was? That was real stress. You want to know what real depression was? That was that. So what are some ways, and I see that in our comments, some users are saying, how do you practice self-care?
Yeah. And it's real interesting when you talk about like the cultural stigmas first, right? Because I think when you look at like the stats going through what we went through during COVID, the numbers are out, right? So there's been a 25% increase in the first year of COVID in anxiety and depression worldwide. Now 1 in 4 people, struggles with anxiety, depression. And then it's hit harder certain communities of color, women, young adults. On March 31st, the CDC came out with a report that in the US, 40% of teens are feeling hopeless persistently, and then 1 in 5 teens has contemplated suicide. And about 3 weeks ago, as I was preparing for our launch for HappiLyfe, I was watching, Sunday I had 60 Minutes on, and they had a report about how emergency rooms are becoming the delivery system for mental health challenges, right, and needs. Because right now, if you call up to schedule an appointment with a therapist, the average wait time nationwide is 48 days. And it's longer if you're a young adult, right? So, for a month and a half, right, or longer for you to see actually somebody who can help you, right? So that's where things are really challenging. As it goes for Latinos and Latinas, right, then there's other challenges. There's the cultural stigma that you mentioned, Melinda, está loca, or you're showing weakness, so we don't talk about these things. There's also barriers to entry, like inequities. There's lack of insurance that you see in many of the communities, or, you don't want to ask for help or seek treatment. So there's lots of stats out there. Even within the mental health profession, there's not a lot of representation of Latinos in terms of psychologists and therapists, and definitely not a lot of Spanish speaking resources either, right? So that just talks to kind of like what's going on there. But then with Latinas, they got hit even harder during COVID because you saw job insecurity. Latinas were overrepresented in jobs and in certain industries like hospitality and retail and services. I think the stat is 1 in 4 Latinas lost a family member to COVID in the last 2 years. Latinas were also in survival mode, right, where they were working and providing childcare and caregiving to their parents, for their family, and then sometimes their in-laws as well. And then finally, as we all know, and we talk about it, the pay gap got wider, where the pay gap for Latinas is usually, equal pay day is usually in October. Now it's in December, right? So all of these things created increased anxiety, depression, alcoholism, substance abuse, for Latinas as well. So, it's more important than ever at this point to take a step back and say, okay, I need to take care of myself, because if I am responsible, or other people are relying on me, or I just want to live a better, more purposeful and happier life, right? How do I take care of myself mentally and emotionally?
I thank you for saying that, because being Latina and I identify that way, COVID was definitely hard on myself and my family, especially being from the New York area. It definitely, I was to say, ground zero where it broke down. I had my in-laws who almost passed, and thank God they survived. Seeing that, having to move in the midst of it, get married, family, baby, I had to step away from the workforce. Fortunately, my health and everybody's health as well. But I know self-help for me at that point, I didn't feel was a priority. I had that workforce mentality, which I see Brandon is saying in the concept. It's like, what else can I do? I had to leave my job, so I started consulting. I had to do this. I had to take care of others. And I know, in speaking to a lot of folks in the Latinx community, it's the mentality of almost sacrificial or martyr-like, where it's like you put others first, and it's this horse race that you have to keep going, keep going, keep going, or échale ganas. I've heard that a million times.
Sure. And we have a tendency also, as culturally, right, not to rock the boat, right, and to keep your head down and work hard, right. And so a lot of that fosters the internalizing things, right, not asking for help, not raising your hand, not saying, hey, I need to take a break, or how can I focus on myself. So there's a lot that we're kind of fighting against in terms of breaking out, right, because it's hard to break out of those kind of stereotypes that we have built on us.
Right. And so let's talk about breaking through the stereotypes, or breaking the stigma. I see a lot of resources here that are being in the chat. Resource 211, Latinx therapy is great, because it has a lot of resources for Latinx folks, led by Latinx therapists throughout the United States. I see a whole bunch going on in the chat, so I appreciate people sharing that as well. The major things I want to discuss is, we know kind of statistics. Now we know, what some of the stigmas are, because some of us face it on a daily basis. What can we do to small changes to empower ourselves? Because I'll be honest, sometimes when I think of self-care, it felt like a part-time job. Like, I
Right.
don't have a whole hour to
Yeah.
go work at the gym. I got a teething baby and a job
Sure.
to take care of. I don't
Sure.
have a whole hour to soak in the bathtub. So
Yeah.
what are some small daily things that we can do to put ourselves first,
Yeah.
to be the best for ourselves, to help others?
Yeah. First off, I just want to say I think it's fantastic that everyone is sharing resources here, because there are, lots of resources that are out there, but it's a matter of finding them. Or sometimes when we're looking for them, it's when we're struggling and maybe, it's not as easy to find. So the fact that we're able to share this and we have a resource there. I think what we built into HappiLyfe, which was nice, is it's very robust in terms of all the tools, but as a user, you're able to customize your experience, right? So if I'm really busy and I've never done, wellness tools or exercises before, I can start, really basically by just setting my focus for the day. Like, what are the areas of focus that I'm going to have for the day? And at the end of the day, I know when I reflect, HappiLyfe is going to hold me accountable as to, okay, what areas did you actually focus on, right? Because I think that's one of the biggest challenges around positive change, is that as humans, right, we typically, it's really hard for individuals to change, right? You have to make that concerted effort. So we keep doing the same thing over and over again. So by reflecting and holding yourself accountable, you can actually foster positive change. But then probably I'd say, one of the biggest things and most important things, and that's why it's the first tool when you go into HappiLyfe, once you set your focus, is your purpose, right? Is setting your purpose. I think there's very few individuals actually have their purpose written down, and it may take time to figure out your purpose. And so that may evolve over time, but just understanding that, what is my bigger goal in life? And that's going to drive me in the things that I do and what I prioritize. And by reflecting on that, then you can start adding other tools that work for you, right? Maybe you try breathing. Breathing is something that you can do, very quickly. And there's resources on YouTube, exercises for meditation and breathing that you can find there. There's different apps that you can use as well that will help you with breathing. Within HappiLyfe, there's a 90-second breathing exercise that's built in there as well. And start with those. A gratitude list is really, really simple, because a lot of times when we're feeling down here, we don't look around and realize how fortunate we are and all the things that we have in our lives to be grateful for. And that actually gives you a tremendous boost. So maintaining a gratitude list, which you're able to do in HappiLyfe as well, but you can also journal it, right? You can go old school, right? This is the old HappiLyfe, right? Is you journal and you keep your list going here. But those are all in just, I think, easy tools that you can kind of use just to get started and begin.
And I appreciate you saying that, because purpose, something for me that sometimes seems daunting, I have to go back to it every single time. And sometimes I feel like it changes. So I like that you said, be intentional. I see Bernice saying, be intentional. Think about what your purpose in life is. And if that sounds too profound, what are things that are important to you? What are you thankful for? You talked about a gratitude list. I know you said about breathing. Megan said having a conversation in the workplace, bringing this up, because some people, it's easy to feel like you're lost, especially with everything going on in the world around us. So with that said, we're going to open it up for the next minute or so for a couple of questions. And then Juan Carlos will wrap up with a word of advice from you. So any questions in the chat, feel free to ask. I see one, and it says, Juan Carlos, can you please share your daily visuals? So any mantras, perhaps?
So in terms of the mantra, the mantra within a HappiLyfe challenges you to take something that you're struggling with, turn it from a negative to a positive, make it present tense. And so for me, it's been, my mantra is around creating a healthy environment around myself, and then just really listening to others, and and creating that so that that's what I kind of focus on, right? Because sometimes, in my relationships, I'll be, quick to become triggered or emotional, right? And so by taking that time and focusing on creating, right? Because there's really just a couple things that you can control, right? What you say and what you do, right? So if I'm in control of that, then I can create a healthy environment around me. My visuals, so within visualization, I've got 2 visualizations in there right now, and one is around what creating HappiLyfe and what HappiLyfe will mean to the world, and that it will be an app that will be used by millions worldwide to lead a more purposeful life. And the second one is around just being the best me today, being the best brother, being the best son, being the best advisor for my clients, being the best partner for my business partners, or for my partner, my girlfriend, whatever it might be, a best father for my dad, and just kind of focusing around that. So those are the visualizations that I've been using.
Thank you for sharing that. And our last question is from Cristina Gutierrez. How do we continue to lift ourselves and one another when we encounter moments like we had over the last 2 weeks? Great question.
I think it's just really checking in. What's amazing, and part of HappiLyfe was also focusing around connectedness, right? It's because we have these devices in our hands, these supercomputers, yet we've never been more disconnected from each other, probably in history, right? Because we're so busy with our lives and the lives of our children and our clients and the people around us, that, you know, the people who are most important to us, we've become disconnected from. So it's really checking in with them, and, you know, doing it in person or doing it through a phone call, or, you know, just, you know, making sure and making sure and seeing how they are, right? And I think, you know, I think that's probably the biggest thing, is like how do we become more connected in a world where we're so disconnected because of technology, right? Technology has this power to bring us closer together, but if anything, it's kind of driven us apart, right? So it's kind of, you know, not, you know, who your 3,000 closest friends on Facebook are, right? But who are the people that you're vested in each other's happiness, right? And in each other's wellness, and breaking it down that way.
Absolutely. So in summary, I hear you saying, put yourself first. I know that's very hard for a lot of people, especially in our Latin community, but the more that we invest in ourselves, the better that we can be, and the more powerful we can be to serve others. Be intentional with your day. Start off small. You know, what can you do to breathe? Focus on gratitude, visualization. Start small, tangible skills. Utilize resources like HappiLyfe, or a bunch of resources here that have been in the comments. So I appreciate people sharing that out. I know, Juan Carlos, people want to probably pick your brain a little bit more, so feel free to connect with Juan Carlos on LinkedIn. He's also available there, as well as HappiLyfe. We'll be able to have more discussions moving forward. But my last question, Juan Carlos, because you've been an amazing guest, is what are you hopeful for? It's been a rough year for a lot of us. What are you excited about this year?
I think the silver lining, one of the silver linings to COVID, is that it has removed some of the stigma around mental wellness. When I started building HappiLyfe, it was literally, I did an incubator class at 1871 Technology Incubator here in Chicago in the spring of 2019. We started designing it in the fall of 2019. We started building it, like the app developers, in January 2020. This is all pre-COVID. COVID hit, we just went, you know, head in and kept going. And, you know, definitely when I look at my 3 daughters who are teenagers, right? And they're, you know, college and high school, strong young Latinas, but they struggled during COVID, right? And they struggled with the remote learning. You know, their mom was sick during that time as well. So there was all these challenges going through. And it's really, you know, that generation is more open and cognizant, right, of the challenges that they're facing mentally and emotionally, and they're looking for resources, right? So I think in terms of being hopeful for something, I think it's that mental challenges and mental illness and mental wellness, it's been around for generations, right? Probably as long as people have been around. But the fact that we're having these conversations like we're having right now, you know, there probably wouldn't be as much conversation in the comments section if this was a couple of years ago, right? So I think there's hope that people are, you know, looking and saying, okay, we need to address these challenges, and so let's work on that. So that's what I'm hopeful about.
Thank you, Juan Carlos, and thank you so much to our viewers for tuning in on an important conversation on mental health awareness. Want to break the stigma, starting with you. Change starts with you. Empower you. Love yourself. Love others. Lead with that kind of love and light. With that said, thank you everyone for joining us. We hope that you take these conversations back to your families, friends, communities, and workplaces. As we all say, change starts with you. Anything that we can do to support, please check out our resources in our comments. Juan Carlos's LinkedIn, HappiLyfe. Thank you all, and have a wonderful day. Thank you, Juan Carlos.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.